Hello there folks, today we are cooking a gammon ham with a mustard and sugar glaze, and if you want to know how to achieve porcine perfection, stay tuned. Hello, today we are going to be doing a fantastic gammon ham with a mustard and sugar glaze. This is a lovely cut of meat. This is a horseshoe gammon. Now this gammon weighs just over 3 kilos, so I'm just going to cook half of this at the moment. So I'm just putting a few strings, see if you can work out that knot. Now there's a couple of ways you can cook your gammon. I mean, you can go for the whole boil, which you weigh the joint and then you boil it for 25 minutes a pound, you know, 450 grams. Or you can roast it whole, but the method I favour is a bit of half and a half. So what I mean by cooking it half and half is I will weigh this joint and I will cook it halfway in boiling water, and the other half I will do in the oven, and that way you get a real moist ham. So that's my ham tied up lovely. I'm going to cook half of this, so we'll slice it down the middle, and you want that fat. I'll show you that lovely joint. So what I'm going to do, get my trusty scales, I'm going to weigh that, if you can see on there. So you can see my ham there, it weighs £4 or 800 grams. So first thing I'm going to do before I start working out the times is I'm going to get my ham in my pot over there, fill it up with water and just bring it to the boil, and then I'm going to chuck that water away. You know, because some people go on about how salty gammons are. I have never had a problem. I've never soaked mine for 24 hours like they tell you to do. I've never had a problem. The easiest way to see if it's too salty for you is to just cut a bit off, fry a bit in the pan, and then if it's salty you can soak it overnight, but I've never had a problem. So I'm going to fill that pot up with water, get that boiling, and I'll show you how we're going to cook this. So as you can see there, I've got my ham in my pot. You must make sure you've got a big enough pot, I must say that, you know, so you can get all the water circulating around it. So I've just brought that up to the heat. There's a bit of scum on there. All I'm going to do now is take that out, put some fresh water in, bring it up to boil, and then we'll start the boiling process. Right, I'm just waiting for that to come up to the boil now, because we're going to start boiling that joint. Now that joint weighed £4, so normally if you were boiling that joint in water, you give it 25 minutes a pound. So at £4, you're talking an hour and 40 minutes. And if you were to roast that, bearing in mind the roasting, if you're going to glaze it, the last half hour you turn it up to gas mark 7. So if you were going to roast that, I would roast that £4 joint for 50 minutes on a gas mark 3, and then that last half an hour at gas mark 7 with the glaze on. But like I said, I'm going to do half and half, so I am actually going to boil this for 35 minutes. I am going to roast it at gas mark 3 for 35 minutes, and then the last half hour with that glaze on. It sounds complicated, I'll write it all down for you, but it is simple. So you're talking pretty much half hour on the hob, half hour on a low oven, half hour gas mark 7 when we glaze it. So we'll let that get going and we'll come back and catch up with that. So as you can see there's my ham. That's been there now 35 minutes. If I can grab it just to show you, it's looking lovely. So that's halfway cooked for me, like I said, on the boil. So I'm just going to turn that off now, and if you can see here, got my tray. What I'm going to do is line it with foil, one that way and the same size that way. So I'll grab my ham out, just put it straight on there, and all you do gently wrap it up. Like I said, that oven is preheated to gas mark 3, so I'm going to give it 35 minutes at gas mark 3, and then I'm going to turn the heat up in the oven to gas mark 7. We'll take the ham out, we'll skin, we'll peel the skin off, score it, make up our glaze of mustard and sugar, and we'll put it on, back in the oven for half hour on that high heat. So this little beauty is all tucked up nicely, ready to go in the oven then. Gas mark 3 for 35 minutes. And you can always probe this at the end, and as long as it reads 70, it's done. So I'm going to get this in the oven for the next phase of the cooking. And of course, the one beautiful byproduct of boiling the ham is this stuff, ham stock. I mean, you can reduce that, which I'm going to do, and put that in the freezer. That's great. You do a pea and ham soup, fantastic, cheap meal. So I'm going to save that and freeze it. So I've roasted that now for 35 minutes, gas mark 3. I've just turned my oven up to gas mark 7. Let's see how far we got. Let's unwrap it. It's looking lovely. So what we'll do, just get my tongs. We'll lift that out there. It's going to be hot. Put the juices in there. I should save that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to skin this. So I'm just going to cut those strings. It's hot. And we're just taking off the actual top layer of the skin. Like I said, we want as much of that fat as we can, so it should just gently peel it with your knife. Scrapes off. Lovely and soft that is. That is lovely. Years ago people used to eat that. And you're left with that. So I'll bring the camera in and we'll get that glaze made up. Right, so you get your ham and just gently, only through the fat, not through the meat, just score some diamonds. Now I'm going to make my glaze with demerara sugar and English mustard. I mean, normally it's done with honey, but I like the sugar because I like that caramelisation it gives you, almost burnt. I reckon it tastes better than honey. And like I said, when it comes out, those bits, they may look burnt, but you've only got a little layer on your meat and it tastes divine. So you can see I've just scored that into my bowl. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of demerara sugar. Get that in. And into that I'm going to put a couple of teaspoons, good old Coleman's. So we get that in. And towards the end of this one, just get a bit more. It's just a case then of mixing it together. And the beauty of this glaze, obviously with the honey, it can be a bit runny, honey. But this is fantastic. And all you do basically is you paint it onto your ham. Get my brush, get my ham. Then what I like to do, get it all in those joints. I mean, the traditional way again is to put the cloves, but I really don't think it needs it. And like I said, we want it caramelised, a few burnt crunchy bits, adds a bit of texture. So I'll paint that on. Then we'll put this in the oven for 15 minutes, gas mark 7, and I've saved a bit of this glaze because I will glaze it again, you know, building up all those lovely layers, sugar, honey. So that is ready to go back in. Gas mark 7 then for 15 minutes. So there's my ham, looking lovely. Just painting the second lot of mustard and sugar on, and this is what you want. Do not be put off by those burnt caramelised bits. It's what you want, truly is what you want, and you'll see why in the finish when I slice it. It's only a very thin layer. I mean, you could add rum to it as well and make it a bit of a jerk seasoning, but just paint that second layer on, get it in for another half hour, we'll let it rest, then we'll have a look at it when it's sliced. Okay, now it's time for the moment of truth. It's been another 15 minutes, and that is what you get. Fantastic, that is. Like I said, you want that burnt caramelisation. It's looking fantastic. And if you're concerned, always use your probe. It wants to be at least 70. So we put it into the thick part. We'll have a look on there. That's reading 75, so that's perfect, that is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover that up for 20 minutes and let all those juices redistribute back through that lovely piece of meat. Well, I've just lit my fingers with that lovely glaze on top. My plate, move that out of the way, and then cover it with foil, then we'll slice a bit and have a look. Keep that nice and warm then. And I'm going to get some potatoes on because I'm going to eat that now. Right, let's have a look at it. All those juices have soaked back in. Got my potatoes on, my lovely new potatoes. You might be able to hear my stock reducing. Let's have a look at this. Get some nice thin slices. And I shall show you what I mean about that caramelisation around the edge. There's nothing to worry about. It's all flavour, it's all texture. Have a look at that. So there you go, folks. A lovely ham, so nicely cooked, pulls apart. You can see how moist that is. And taste amazing. That little layer of caramelised sugar, mustard adds a lovely, lovely tangy bite. Give it a go. That is great for Christmas. Thanks for watching.